When you were a young activist, you fought for racial justice. Do you think the fight for environmental justice is the defining challenge for today's younger generation?
Well, it should not be limited to that. You should fight for racial justice and gender equality, workers' rights and children's rights, and environmental security at the same time. Because with the rights you have for women and workers and children, they still have the right to breathe free. So if you have all of your rights and you've defied nature and the water is not drinkable, you cannot breathe, then it is to no good end. And so I would say those core issues of racial justice, gender equality, workers and children's rights, and the environment is a part of the same thrust.
Why is it important that we engage young people in global and social issues, and how do we empower them to act?
Because young people must live in the world that they create. We who fought to end racial barriers in the U.S. as a matter of law, we now live in the world that we created. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in jail to create a new South Africa. He now lives in the world of a free South Africa. So every generation must address the issues of its time and use its power. Now, the good news is this generation has the right to vote. It has more access to universal education. It has the right to march. I mean, one of the great things about Britain and the U.S. is that if you disagree with something, you have the right to fight for the right. And so use your mind, use your vote, use your march and feet, and build coalitions. And those are things of which change are made.
What would be your message to today's young activists?
Today's young activists must avoid self-destruction through drugs, alcohol, and violence, on the one hand. On the other hand, shun self-degradation. Do not diminish yourself with a lifestyle that has no good end. But the other, of course, is to fight the growing poverty in the world today, because the poverty leads to the fear. And the people who are threatening stability prey upon the poor and the weak and the hungry and the ignorant. And so use your power to fight for more education, more health care, more nutrition, more access to medicine, and let people realize their fullest dreams, because if you are healthy, your body, your mind, your spirit, you can in fact realize your potential as a human being.
Why should the West focus on ending poverty in the developing world, and how do we go about doing it?
Well, because if the haves do not feed the have-nots, they'll face the wrath of the have-nots fighting back. And it is not sound for fewer and fewer to have more and more have less and less. We must be committed to fairly distributing resources of our earth. After all, the earth is the Lord's. We are simply lessees. We're stewards. We should be good stewards and be fair in our distribution. It's untenable, the fact that we have an agricultural food surplus on the one hand and hungry people on the other, that we have the capacity to do moonshots and yet cannot afford for people drinkable water. If we use our scientific skills in a correct way, we'll be able to fight poverty and eliminate it in our time. Ending poverty as we know it can end in our generation.
Do you think there's a proper sense of awareness in African communities around the world about the true state of poverty in Africa?
Most in the Western world see Africa through stereotypes, and they see Africa through the movies, more stereotypes. Or Africa when there's some famous act of violence. This is the most endowed continent. You can get the U.S., Europe, and China and Africa and have some land space left. It has the most riches, and yet they exploit it not for the end of the people who live there. It's the most resourceful in terms of year-round climate. It can grow food. So Africa is the world's breadbasket, and we should see it as a source of hope and a source of help, and embrace those for that, because if those children of Africa get their fair share of education, then only can rebuild Africa. They'll be great assets to developing the rest of the world.
Do you think that faith is an important factor in inspiring people to take action on development issues? And what else do you think inspires people to become activists?
Faith allows you to hold on. When it's real dark, it's faith that will get you through. You can't stop fate, an unforeseen, unpredictable circumstance, and fate can't stop faith. So when the writer says faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things unseen, faith is a weapon. For without faith, you surrender. You cannot win if you surrender. But with faith, all things are possible.